it seems as though she had been posting some video. I mean, this is a woman that's deeply unwell and clearly needs some help. And her kind of fixation has lasted for several years now. It's at this point, I think the depth of that unwellness has raised concerns for other members.
Chitlins, a little bit of fried chicken. I do that every single morning. That's relatable, right? I do that every single morning. Black America, what's going on, Black America? You may have recently seen that AOC now talks like us because we are all still slaves in the South, and this is relatable, and this is what we do. Elena, do we have anything more to relate to the Black people? Okay, can I get some of that? Thank you. Yeah. I was just having some hot sauce here, and this morning I just drink it in the morning because I'm so relatable to Black people. Lordy, I eat this hot sauce every single morning. Elena, we gotta get the Puerto Rican vote. Do we have anything to relate to the Puerto Ricans? You got some stuff? Oh yeah, I dance to Cardi B every single morning. So hopefully the Puerto Ricans will vote for me. You're an immigrant, right? Do we have anything that relates to the immigrants? You don't have anything that relates to the immigrants?
Myself.
Guys, let me just say something to take a serious second. I genuinely want to understand, if you are a Black person, why are you voting Democrat anymore? I mean, I could make a joke here, and we could say that it's insulting. It's actually just funny now. What is your excuse? I'm not even going to judge you. I'm not even going to talk about how low of an IQ you have to still be voting Democrat at this point, that they literally cannot have a single serious discussion with Black Americans. They're just trying to relate by offering us hot sauce. That was Hillary Clinton. We had Kamala Harris, which related to us by talking about Biggie and Tupac and smoking pot in her dorm before either of them made an album, okay? And now we have AOC, who's launched the #BlackSint movement, which I will say, it's a good movement. Why are you still voting Democrat? I want you to drop a comment for me and tell me why it is that you still vote Democrat. No argument. I'm not going to judge you. I genuinely want to know what the draw is. This is the most insulting thing that I've ever seen, the most insulting clip I've ever seen. Why do you have to speak like that to Black Americans to get their vote or to be relatable? I'm marrying a British man. He had a British accent. He didn't have to put on a hood accent to get me. Why can't Black Americans understand English? Why can't she just have said what she wanted to say in perfect English? Is the idea that we're so dumb that we don't know how to communicate effectively and we find it relatable when people break up our language? Does she have to speak Ebonics? Does she have to throw in colloquialisms? Do you have to swear in order to get Black Americans to understand? I say this over and over again. The left thinks Black people are stupid. Literally stupid, okay? I make the Cardi B joke. They'll probably literally have her performing for whoever their candidate is in 2020. People say, how can you support Trump? Trump speaks the exact same way, whether he's in the room with people that are white, Hispanic, Black. I've done all Black events with Trump. I've been at events with people in front of the RNC. Trump speaks the exact same way no matter what room you are in, because he respects us. He respects us enough to tell us the truth. You're offended when Trump asks us, what do we have to lose? But you're not offended when AOC speaks in a broken Southern accent to relate to us because we're still slaves? I will agree with her on one thing. We are still slaves. We are mental slaves. So it's actually almost appropriate that they speak to us in this way, because we keep giving them our votes. They keep giving us absolutely nothing. We are getting what we deserve at this moment if we still vote Democrat. If we can't see that they are actually just trying to relate with us through culture, as opposed to having real conversations about why they destroyed our communities, why they removed our fathers from the home. They just call everybody racist and speak in broken Black accents. So I'm going to end this video by telling you that I'm still Trump all day. That's a Kanye quote. This is why I am Trump all day, Trump 2020, Trump 2024, Trump 2028, because he has the audacity to speak to Black Americans like we're actually individuals that deserve a real conversation about how we fix our communities. I have to go. I'm going bride dress shopping. If you guys have any ideas about what my dress should look like, drop them. I'm not going to listen to you, but I just want to see what you think I should wear. Bye, guys.
Will end America. But you all recall when they once again prophesized our doom when Iranian terrorist Soleimani was slain in a military operation. You remember that, right? This is the beginning of World War III, their headlines read. They promised us we were going to head straight into World War III. It was a remarkable day because it was the day that we watched Democrats and liberals, the ones who have been shrieking about sexism, misogyny, and the need for more feminism, turn into passionate defenders of the state of Iran, the country whose constitution quite literally states that a woman's life is worth half that of a man's, a country where women are punished by law for up to 10 years in prison if they are caught not wearing a veil, suddenly became the apple of the left's eye. Of course, the war never happened, but in the midst of their delirium, a tweet went out from resident anti-American Colin Kaepernick. And the tweet read, exactly, and I quote, "There is nothing new about American attacks against black and brown people for the expansion of American imperialism. America has always sanctioned and besieged black and brown bodies. American militarism is the weapon wielded by American imperialists to enforce its policing and plundering of the non-white world," end quote. Fascinating. A rant about black and brown bodies being imperialized, a word that I must assume Colin either doesn't know the definition or the history of, used in defense of Iran. And so, of course, you know me on Twitter. I felt it necessary to mention to Colin, gently, of course, you know me, I'm very nice on Twitter, to mention to Colin that that particular country of brown and black bodies used to be known as Persia. And rather unfortunately for his implied thesis regarding their perpetual victimhood at the hands of white people, Persia used to be an empire, quite literally an imperial dynasty for 200 years, almost as long as America has been alive. It was once the most powerful state in the world, imperializing regions from Egypt to India, regions of, you guessed it, black and brown people. And while I have to say that I was not shocked to learn that Colin Kaepernick has evidently never picked up a historical textbook, I will say that I was shocked that he hadn't at the very least seen the movie 300. A little movie where the black and brown bodies are looking to imperialize the white bodies in Greece. Maybe he thought it was all made up and fiction. Or maybe Colin Kaepernick isn't earning millions to tell the truth. Maybe he's being paid millions to convince black and brown bodies that they are oppressed, to keep them angry and confused and uneducated, which could explain why on Thanksgiving Day of last year, Colin tweeted, I quote, "The U.S. government has stolen over 1.5 billion acres of land from indigenous people. Thank you to my indigenous family. I am with you now and always," end quote. Holiday tweets are his favorite, by the way. On the 4th of July, he tweeted, what to the American slave is your 4th of July? Co-opting, by the way, a Frederick Douglass quote and stripping it of its original context to convey the idea that blacks owe this country not a moment of celebration. I'm talking about Colin because the picture that he is painting is clear, and I'm using him as an example because it is so in line with the overall opinion that we are seeing come from the left today, an opinion that America is a horribly racist country whose guilt cannot be untethered from her period of slavery, which is interesting because if slavery is an everlasting sin from white men, why was Colin so clearly able to forgive that sin from American indigenous people, his quote-unquote family? That's an inconvenient truth. You see, the sin of slavery was not brought to this continent by white Europeans, as the left would have us imagine. Slavery existed everywhere in the world, including here since the dawn of humanity. Different Native American tribes weren't sitting around kumbayaing over a fireplace. They were trying to imperialize one another. They would enslave their war captives into labor. They would sometimes sell their own children. They tortured others as a part of their religious rites. And depending on which tribe you were in, cannibalism was even the commonplace. Oh, did cannibalism get lost in Colin's flowery depiction of indigenous people? Yes, before the Europeans ever landed in the Americas, Native Americans routinely cannibalized one another. Most notorious among them, perhaps, was the Aztecs. When the Spanish colonists arrived in Mexico City, they were greeted by piles of over 100,000 skulls belonging to humans that had been sacrificed to the gods. In fact, in one archaeological dig, they found the remains of 42 children, all around the age of 5, who were sacrificed to the rain god. Special days required more sacrifice, by the way. On the inauguration of Aztec's Temple Major, they sacrificed between 20,000 and 60,000 human beings in a single day. Their ceremonies, I'd like to paint a little bit for you, a picture of the ceremonies. The ceremonies were performed in front of large crowds. Usually, an adult male victim was held on a stone, his chest was slashed open, and the priest would take his still beating heart and hold it to the sun. The severed head was then placed on a rack, and his remaining body was rolled down the temple where it was skinned and it was dismembered, and the body parts were then distributed to the spectators to take home to eat. For decades, the colonists' writings about the savage culture of Native Americans were dismissed here in the United States. The politically correct argument was that white European men needed to wrongly portray the indigenous people to justify their own genocidal pursuits. Liberals in the United States even went so far as to claim that the Native Americans themselves had lied, or rather, more politically correct, had been misunderstood in their own recorded sacred texts regarding their cannibalistic practices. Until science happened and anthropology in the year 2000, an anthropologist came and was hesitant to report his findings from Colorado, which he characterized as definitive evidence for sporadic cannibalism in the Southwest of America. Even the lying, leaking New York Times had to acknowledge the truth in an article that they then published entitled, "New Data Suggests Cannibalism by Ancient Indians." Now, I want to be clear here that my purpose in sharing all of that is not to issue some sweeping condemnation of Native American Indians, nor is it to offer up a vindication for the murderous actions of the early colonists. My purpose here is to simply tell the truth about the history of all men of days past.